This is huge breaking news. Officials are warning people to, quote, get the heck out of there right now. All right. Over 30 million people, 6 states conservatively. Honestly, it's more states than that are being affected by this, and their water supply is being poisoned. Fish are dying in masses. Animals are dying in masses. All right. This is happening right now in the United States of America, and it's barely getting any coverage. This is something I actually covered a few days ago. So I covered this 9 days ago when it happened, and you've probably barely heard about this. It's starting to bubble up again. But there's been a massive train derailment in Ohio, near East Palestine, Ohio, and near Pennsylvania. And this has resulted in the release of tens of thousands of gallons of toxic chemicals into the air and into the water supply. And these are cancer-causing chemicals. So the main chemical that we are worried about is vinyl chloride. And you can see here that this causes cancer. This is on cancer.gov, an official government website. Okay, and I'm just going to read what they say. I'm not an expert. And it says, which cancers are associated with exposure to vinyl chloride? Vinyl chloride exposure is associated with an increased risk of a rare form of liver cancer, as well as primary liver cancer, brain and lung cancer, lymphoma, and leukemia. So very serious. All right, this isn't anything to joke around with. And over 30 million people are being affected right now in 6 different states, bare minimum. Okay, so the Ohio River Basin is being completely poisoned right now with these toxic chemicals. You can see here coming out of Roz Alert on Twitter. Go follow me on Twitter and shout out to Roz. You can see here the Ohio River, which serves over 10% of the U.S. population, has reportedly become contaminated due to chemicals from the East Palestine train derailment. The river supplies public drinking water to over 5 million people, in addition to industries all the way to West Virginia, affecting over 30 million people who live in the Ohio River Basin. This is extreme that this is happening right now. Cancer-causing chemicals, all right? I don't want any of this in my drinking water. Lung cancer, brain cancer, lymphoma, leukemia, all right? And this is on cancer.gov website. I'm not saying any of this. I'm not an expert because you know how it is on here. But 30 million people affected, okay? And the Ohio River actually just runs into the Mississippi River. This is huge. And there have been multiple other train derailments just today of toxic chemicals as well too. We will get into that in just a second. But you can see here that the Ohio River, it just flows right into the Mississippi River. So it's actually more than just these 6 states surrounding the Ohio River Basin. It's actually the entire Mississippi River system is in trouble right now with these toxic chemicals. And look at this. Dead fish are all over Ohio right now in the rivers. The rivers are filled with dead fish, and this is from this cancer-causing chemical. All right, there are also tons of farm animals dying because they are drinking this water. There are also pets dying because the water is contaminated. The drinking water is contaminated. The tap water is contaminated. This is huge. This is why you need to have water filters. All right, I have a Sawyer mini filter. All right, I have multiple ones because those filter 10,000 gallons of water, and you can drink right out of a pond. You can also get something bigger, like a big Berkey water filter. All right, those are big ones for more of like your home or if you're camping or something. There's also things like the Life Straw that you can use that will filter out these toxic contaminants in your drinking water. All right, this is serious, and this is stuff that could affect you for the rest of your life. Cancer-causing chemicals. How many times have we seen this, and how many times have we seen commercials for things like Camp Lejeune, all right, where the water was contaminated at a military base and there was all of these different side effects. This happens all the time, and the EPA is saying, hey, don't worry about it. The water's safe. We're monitoring the levels. Don't worry about it. It's safe. But does this look safe to you? Fish are dying in the rivers right now. Does this really look safe? Does this look safe? All right. This should be on the front page of all news. And this happened 9 days ago. I reported on this 9 days ago, and it's barely gotten any coverage. And this is also happening in other places too. All right, so just to start off, I reported on this 2 weeks ago. There was a massive train derailment in Louisiana, and there was hazmat crews on the scene, and they are cleaning up hazardous materials, okay? And people had to evacuate. Hundreds of people evacuated there. What's going on with our train systems right now? Are they being attacked? Are they being sabotaged? What's happening? South Carolina, just today, February 13th, this happened. Officials are responding to a train derailment in Inouye on Monday afternoon. All right, not a lot of details coming out of South Carolina, but there is another train derailment. All right, you can see here Houston also had one today as well. This one in Houston could be massive because it is a 20-car pileup, and this one in Houston is also carrying hazardous materials as well. Here's the headline here: Houston area crash between truck and Union Pacific train kills driver, derails 20 plus rail cars. All right, so this keeps happening. This kind of seems like a pattern. All right, Ohio, Houston, South Carolina, Louisiana, and multiple ones of these have hazardous materials. The cargo on the train included some hazardous materials, prompting Union Pacific to monitor air quality at the site of the crash, according to the police department. Okay, so Houston as well could be facing evacuation orders, at least part of it, if this situation gets out of hand. And this one in Ohio was so weird because it crashed right in between a massive gas station, all right, where they had tons of, not just like your little corner gas station, they had tons of oil tankers there. This is more like a Love or like a Flying J or something like this. So tons of trucks here, a massive gas station crashed in between that and also a oil fuel heating supply center. Okay, so two very flammable locations that it also crashed right in between and could have made this fire even worse, this explosion even worse. This was from a massive explosion, and there was multiple explosions, and there were curfews, and people are being arrested for just reporting on this. Journalist, if anyone gets within a certain mile radius, even if you live there, they are arresting people. There's very strict curfews, and we could start seeing this in Houston as well. Hopefully the situation isn't that bad, but 20 cars, somebody has perished. It seems pretty intense. South Carolina, we will see what's happening there. And this one other thing, what is going on? Was this planned? All right, this movie that came out last year, at the end of last year, I believe like August last year or October, something like that, the last few months of 2022, this movie came out. And it is called White Noise, and it is about a family that experiences a massive chemical release into the air, and they have to evacuate, and it's like making the town go crazy, and all this weird stuff's happening because there's these chemicals in the water and chemicals in the air that everyone is breathing in, and they have to evacuate. Very strange. It was a Netflix movie that was put out last year. And this person here, Aaron Elizabeth, Health Nut News, is saying, here's a movie just made about a train derailment with toxins in Ohio, filmed in Ohio, where it just happened. Many of the extras were local from East Palestine, Ohio, who in the film evacuated. Then months later, they had to do the same thing in real life. Bonkers, all right? Definitely strange. Definitely weird what's going on. This movie's called White Noise, if you want to go look it up for yourself. This happens a lot. We always see this in shows. We've seen this in like The Simpsons or like Family Guy or something like this all the time, where there's just these very weird, specific, highly specific scenarios like this one. It's like a train derailment with toxins releasing in Ohio. When does this ever happen? All right. And shout out Ohio. I love Ohio. I was born in Ohio. All my family's from Ohio. I love Ohio. But when has this ever happened in Ohio? And then all of a sudden, this movie comes out, and this stuff happens a few months later. That's almost like mimicking the movie. This happens in shows and stuff like this all the time. It's a very specific scenario, and then it's recreated in real life, and it's almost like predictive programming. Like they tell us what's coming, they know what's coming, and a lot of it is they have to tell you what they are doing. They want you to kind of accept it with your free will. They kind of want to put it in your face and say, hey, this is happening, this is coming, and it's kind of up to you. Like, do you deny this? Do you reject this? Or do you just accept it? And they kind of feel like if you accept it, then it's kind of on you at that point. It's kind of like you've taken responsibility. It's kind of like that's how they justify doing these evil things. That's why they do these crazy award ceremonies and things like this, these rituals, because they like to put it in our face. And if we accept it, then it's kind of like, hey, you said this was okay. I showed you what I was doing. It's kind of like this criminology in a sense as well, where, criminals kind of like to tell the police or kind of like to show what they're doing. It's kind of like the same concept. They want to expose what they're doing. They're kind of like, hey, we told you. Remember the Grammys, all right? If you saw this award show, it was highly satanic, highly blatantly just over the top. All right, and I know they do a lot of this stuff for publicity, but it's also like, yeah, you're selling out to Satan for publicity. Like, great job. And this stuff's all in the open. They put it in our faces so we accept it. All right, it's like you just sit there. All right, you sit there and watch the Grammys and watch this clown do this Satanism. Then you're kind of accepting it. You're not denying it. You're not fighting back. That's kind of how they operate. So I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but that's the point of this movie. They put out this stuff, and then it happens in real life. And they're like, well, you love the movie. The movie did great. Tons of people watched this movie. It was a great movie. You had no problems with the movie, but so you shouldn't have any problems in real life. We told you this was going to happen. You know what I mean? That's kind of the metaphysical thought process of how these elites and people operating that do these events. That's how they justify what they're doing. All right. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let's hope that this situation in Ohio gets more attention. This is a federal emergency, all right? This is a federal emergency. It hasn't been declared a federal emergency officially, but this is a federal emergency. It doesn't matter what the president says, and there needs to be a federal response. This is huge. This is affecting tens of millions of people, all right? Their drinking water is contaminated with cancer-causing chemicals. So hit that like, hit that sub, share this video, get it out to everyone you know. Who cares if someone thinks you're crazy? Just share the video. Go follow me on Twitter, share it on there. I'm going to post clips of it on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter, share it over there, get this stuff out. This is happening right now, guys, and people are being affected, and they're drinking this water, potentially being poisoned. All right, this is serious. I made a video about how the food supply is potentially being poisoned, and it got taken down. All right, they don't want information like this out. So thank you guys so much, and you have a big old blessed day.